Hey everyone, welcome to AMA number 15. We can just kind of dive right into some updates on the marketplace and some of the blockers that we talked about last week on the project call. We've actually made some pretty good progress in unlocking a lot of those systems, but we still are blocked on a few things. I can let Chuba kind of talk about some of that and then some of the updates we were able to make in the meantime.
Yeah, I over the last kind of week, we've been able to consolidate a lot of kind of figuring out who has access to what and what we kind of need to resolve. And so kind of in that kind of discovery process, we've been able to reach out to various hosting providers, kind of both over phone calls and support tickets. And the few things we still don't have access to will be basically recovered over the next few days, it looks like. From there, there's kind of measures we'll be taking to kind of ensure further decentralization of the infrastructure between the kind of various teams that contribute to Universe and kind of geographically distributing kind of access and ownership of the various infra. But we are still kind of blocked on a little bit of the testing. So some of the features that we do have prepared and ready to go will still kind of be delayed a little while longer until we kind of have everything wrapped up and under control. Um, with that said, once the infra is wrapped up, there's a whole lot of stuff that's kind of ready. It just needs that last bit of testing, and then we can get it out. So a little bit of a holdover, but we're almost there.
Yeah, and I'd also like to highlight, I talked on the non-AMA portion, and out of the respect for this person, I don't want to like divulge too much details, but we were held up for a while leading into this. And some of it you can look back and say, yeah, we should have maybe had systems in place and done things differently. But the timing that it happened was just the worst possible timing ever. But then couple that on top of it was a pretty freak situation. And I just don't know if in hindsight there was a lot that we could have done to see it coming. But it has been holding us up for quite a while now. And so we've been doing what we can, but it's almost like we kind of launched the marketplace, got a couple things immediately fixed on it, and then have been very much kind of blocked and locked out for a while now. And so once we get access, a lot of the stuff that we've been doing is going to get fixed rapidly. But it's hard to really describe how much of, how frustrating of a setback it's been in general, on top of the tragedy of the situation. So yeah, I think that's all I'm going to say about that.
Some good things though. We were able to recover access to some things already, and we talked about last week how as we recover some of those things, we'll be able to test some of these features and some of these things we've been working on. So we have been successful at being able to further test. It's just we aren't going to be able to push some of these things live until we get full access and recover everything. But we have been able to make some progress in the meantime, which has been pretty good. Um, we actually have not too many more updates on the marketplace. I think we've kind of covered everything, so I think we can hand it off to Zach. Zach has a ton of interesting and fun stuff to talk about today, actually, about the polymorphs.
What's up, guys? Yeah, so we've kind of been secretly working on just something to bring our, polymorphs to life a little bit. And if you guys read that Medium article, then you already know like kind of the direction behind it. But I just felt personally like there was some storytelling and missing from NFTs in general. So I feel like polymorphs were a good place to start when it came to like developing some sort of life form to bring to NFTs. So I hope you guys really enjoy this polymorphic therapy episode. We've got we should have another 2 episodes. One of them is already ready, and I'm not going to give exact timelines because that's just not a good idea. But we definitely have a couple more episodes ready already to go live with and share with you guys, and I hope it's entertaining. I know it's entertaining to me. I'm pretty confident that you guys will like it. But yeah, we've been working with some like really talented animators and comedians on this, so it's coming together really really well, and it's a really fun project to work on.
Yeah, they're
Um,
actually pretty well known um, comedy writers. I mean, they're not like, I don't know if everyone would know who they were off the bat, but their group is called Good Liars, and they're pretty involved and have been a part of a lot of things. They're been involved with Adult Swim and productions and groups across the board. So, I mean, and they have a bunch of funny, awesome content online. And hopefully, if everyone loves these episodes, we'll continue to make them and bring the polymorphs to life. And, we're just, like Zach said, we're trying to find fun and creative ways to bring these guys to life and show people what they can do with, you know, their polymorphs, being
yeah,
creative
and
and just
I think
having
it's
fun.
an I think it's an interesting opportunity as well for the holders of the polymorphs to possibly have their polymorphs like featured in an episode. So like I don't have any concrete plans for doing that, but I definitely want to get the community involved in some way, whether it be some like therapy meme competitions or something just inside of our Discord community where there can be some way for the community to like vote on which polymorphs are going to therapy next, maybe influencing the session itself and how it goes. So feel free to like share any ideas on how you guys think is the best way to go about that, or if you just have any general ideas for the therapy sessions after you see the format today in about an hour.
If you like them how we're making them, we'll just keep cranking them out like that too. So
Yeah,
whatever y'all want.
yeah, but they're really fun. Um, Besides that, I guess I should give an update on our World Wide Web stuff. So we've got all of our sprites for, I don't know if you guys know about the World Wide Web metaverse, but I've delivered them every polymorph base character sprite sheet. Um, I delivered all the endpoints to them, and they recently let me know that they're actually postponing any future integrations until they do their next update. So we have to wait a little bit, but that is definitely um, it's kind of just waiting on them to get their updates out so they can integrate more characters. But when they do, you'll be able to play World Wide Web using whatever Playmorph base character you own. Yeah. So that's
Nice. Yeah, we worked on
uh,
those for a minute, and they are actually really cool.
yeah, they're really funny.
Yeah, they're
um,
like a 2D Pokemon type polymorph. So, like we said, we want to bring them to life in all different shapes and sizes and colors.
I also have an update on the party if anybody cares. I have some. This isn't all of the confirmed artists, but some. We have Don Diablo, BT, and Vendetta um, that will be performing at the Monster Cat party in New York in a couple of weeks. So that's exciting, and I've definitely got some like elevated universe branding that will be on display and kind of laid out around the decor of the building and the venue. So if you guys are in New York, come hang out with me. I might even buy you a bagel.
I'll be
Okay.
there.
I think we're all gonna be there for sure. So bagels on Zach.
Yeah, bagels on me. If it's a bunch of people, we're just gonna go to my house. And I'm just gonna cook everybody bagels because that shit will get expensive.
Okay. I think that's the majority of our updates. Once again, that polymorphic therapy video is going to air on YouTube. We're going to post a link in the Discord. That's on the Universe XYZ DAO official YouTube page. And that's set to premiere at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So about an hour and 14 minutes, that'll go live. We'll all be watching it and we can all watch it together. I think there's like a live like
Yeah, there's a
chat.
chat box.
And it's a short video. It's about 3 minutes, but it's pretty funny and I think you guys are gonna like it. Okay, so I think that's everything we've wrapped up, and I think we just go ahead and jump into the AMA section of the call.
Temple is coming soon. That's also an update. Pretty soon.
Yeah, Temple's getting really close, but we're still laying low on Temple, on telling everybody what it is. But everyone's gonna love that. Okay, so on the forum, Tyler, do you want to answer these forum questions? There's one talking about from JD Buffalo's talking about like run rate for the
Yeah.
DAO marketing and the vision for the role of the community.
So I don't on the vision for the role of the community. I mean, we've hired out of the community quite a bit. I think the the biggest thing when people ask me that is like it's it's hard to basically immediately figure that out because like most of the people kind of just come in and start contributing and helping. So part of that, like in most of the like the very like fervent communities that I'm a part of, the community really starts to kind of take shape into their own. But in Universe's case, I get that it's just been a little slow going because since we launched, we had some unforeseen circumstances and things that like slowed down progress in general. I think just in general, we've been hit with a series of bad luck streaks that I wouldn't expect would continue. In terms of runway, like our USDC runway in the multi-sig is fine. We probably need to recalibrate how much like we like the multi-sig has like fronted towards the polymorphs. Because where we said we haven't like I think someone had said before that like we had not spent any money on the polymorphs, but like that's not completely true. Like we have a certain amount of funds that were used for like NFTs in general, and that also would like extend runway. I think we need to look at like the general markets and see where everything's going. But like it's not like we're like gonna run out of money immediately. I do think that if like Universe at aggregate was like a private entity, you know, you see groups raising quite a lot of capital. I think that since like everything that we're doing is like publicly listed, when you hit these bear markets, it becomes difficult when the public markets are extremely active. Where like you see, you know, groups raising 20, $30 million. I think that we need to get in like a presentable place And ultimately, I do think that if we're going to compete long term, we're going to have to raise or find capital in some capacity. But I don't think that's like an immediate need. I think that we need to get everything cleaned up and get it all pushed out before we worry about that. So, like, we're not running out of money next month. And in general, when we need to worry about runway, I think that we can have some pretty open questions about that. In terms of the Monster Cat event, I really think that Tim could probably come talk about that. Ultimately, the way I view that is like that was voted on and it passed. I didn't see a ton of like pushback until after it passed. So like I really didn't think it was a problem or like a major issue. And I mean at this point, like since it's passed, it's like it looks worse if we like go to Monster Cat and are like the community's like pushing back against this thing passing and like we can't do it anymore. So I think like if the questions are around like better like optics, like last time that we did all this, it was, the markets were pretty active. Like everything on NFTs was on fire. And like I remember we were supposed to get like a video. I think some of that stuff took longer than expected, but like the people who went to that event, like at the time, I think that it was pretty positively viewed and received by everyone. And some of that was paid for like personally by me and Tim, like a good chunk of it actually. And so ultimately, I think like we scaled it back this time around and decided not to obviously hit it as hard. But since, dollars are harder to come by than they were this time a year ago, I definitely think that we need to stay on top of tracking the ROI. But this was a little bit in motion before everything happened. And, we had been talking with the Monster Cat team. And this happens in bear markets, right? Like you start to look at every dollar closely. And if that's the result that we start to look at this event a lot more closely than we did last time. But some part of me thinks that if we just like don't show up to this event at all, and we kind of had a big presence last time, it starts to look like the project's like dying, where by the time this event starts happening, a lot of stuff with the universe will be shipping. So in some ways you end up, I read a study one time regarding marketing, that marketing is normally like the first expense that gets cut in a downturn. But it's counterintuitive because the cost of marketing also goes down because there's not as much demand because everyone cuts spend. However, like the number of eyeballs that end up on these products and services are ultimately higher because like $1 million spent on marketing in a down market is worth a lot more than $1 million in an up market. So like, let's just look at it as not like a Super Bowl ad, but like when there's constant bidding for like clicks and eyeballs, and you spend $1 million, you just get like put into the noise, right? But like maybe think of this as like $100 million, $1 billion campaign that like major companies are doing. People like don't forget, right? And so like if you establish a brand when there's not as much, conversation going on and not as many people are watching, those brands actually tend to do far better in the upswing of things. So like, I think one of the worst things we could possibly do is just be invisible, because it was pretty hard to even get a voice or get eyeballs on what we were doing when everything was going bonkers. But I think just continuing at the pace we were at, I do ultimately think that more people will pay attention if we're increasing like what we're doing with the polymorphs, like releasing more content. Like these types of things may seem small, but people eventually start to notice. And so I think the worst thing that we could do right now, especially with that vote passing, is trying to go back on it and say like, no, like let's not do this now, right? However, I think that it's a fair criticism that we need to be a little more critical of it and pay attention to the ROI and look at what we get out of it, because ultimately $100,000 isn't a minuscule amount of money, right? But it was less than what was last time.
I
So
brought JD Buffalo up. He had his hand up, so I might as well bring him up because he's raising the questions on this anyways, so we can talk to him.
Yeah, I guess I just had two quick follow-ups. I appreciate the answer. The first one is on the comments on the run rate. It doesn't seem like you're comfortable talking about like the length of time that you guys can continue to operate, and I respect that. I'm not going to argue with you.
partially it's partially because I think, well, we are cutting some expenses in various areas that have to do with like some of the art creation. We did spend like quite a lot of money getting like the back end up. So like our month to month runway rate is dropping, and we're working on, figuring out like exactly what that is. And as far as the run rate goes, we have like very good capital partners that would come to help, because I mean, for numerous reasons. Like, one, some of the hiccups and bumps in the road that Universe has seen along the way, I don't want to say they're not our fault, because like that makes it sound like flippant, but there were definitely things that were like out of our control that caused setbacks that I don't think like reflect directly on the team. And so like some of that stuff is explainable. I also, so like I don't think that we're going to have an issue if we need to like shore up more capital. We also still haven't touched like the capital that was raised from the polymorphs, and like while ETH has dropped, there's still capital there. So it's really that in these types of markets, I think in terms of like 6 months to a year, and if we have issues in 6 months to a year, I just don't have confidence that like the project's going to end or fall apart. But we are like watching the runway rate and making sure that we that how do I put this? Like we're trying to make sure that we don't like hit a wall. But most of like, if you look at groups that have gotten involved in this, like I don't think that they're as like paper-handed as I mean, while us in the community and ecosystem as singular entities are probably panicking, some of the groups we work with like have announced like massive raises, and I think that they would show up to help, because we haven't like fundamentally failed. Like we didn't spin out of control like Luna or Terra. None of the funds that we work with were super involved in that ecosystem, so I'm not worried about like their solvency. And a lot of like what I said that has set us back along the way has been, I mean, some of it has been, yeah, like things are happening in a bull market, and I think you can retroactively like look at things that we would have done different along the way. But overall, a lot of the perceived setbacks were from left field, and like you just don't keep that, doesn't keep happening, because like it hasn't happened on any other project that I've been attached to. So
Yeah. So
ultimately,
respect that.
I don't want to like sound like I'm not comfortable about talking about it. It's just that I think that if we start to run out of capital, I still think that we can get it in this market.
I guess the two follow-ups I had were, it sounds like that language is a bit of a change from what you guys were talking about a few months ago. And if I'm misremembering too, but it talked about, I feel like I remember talking about a long runway, like self-funded, we're not going to have to raise capital, and it seems like that could be changing. And then I think relating to the other question that I've kind of been hammering on in the Discord for a little bit, I don't. The party is what it is. The only real questions I had were kind of like what goes into actually determining the ROI, because I don't necessarily disagree about anything you're saying about the party, but at the end of the day, it sounds to me like it's 1,500 people who are already familiar with and involved in the ecosystem, and just moving forward, I kind of wonder if that's the best way to spend funds, especially in a bear market when your reach doesn't seem like it could be that high or high relative to what it could be using that money to do something else.
I think that's fair. Yeah, I ultimately think that
I mean, the thing is, we had this party planned, and we were planning on doing this with Monster Cat beforehand. Like I wasn't a part of the team last year's party. I went as a community member, and I thought that it was worth whatever money got spent on it. I had a great time, and I thought the Universe brand was strong there. Some people might disagree, but like I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, the agreement that was that like we do it again next year, like Tyler was saying. So while it's a bear market now, when we started planning for doing this Monster Cat party, like it wasn't a bear market.
Yeah, and then I think to add, because there is, not just you, but a few others have asked about the kind of metric we can gather on it, and I haven't thought very much about that. But as we're kind of recapturing a lot of the infrastructure, we might be able to get some analytics in place so that we're able to kind of track some of kind of the usage metrics of the platform and kind of like visits to the homepage and conversion and stuff like that a little bit better, so that we can see kind of when we do, whether it's big or small events, kind of which ones leads to active users and which ones lead to maybe just people going to the homepage and never coming back and stuff like that. Not saying anything like this can happen overnight, but I think it's a good thing to start exploring, and I think it may be something the community will want to see in the long run.
Yeah, I think
think
that
that there
those
were a
are going
lot
to
of
be good ways to try and measure that. I mean, like we've been trying to grow social media, so like looking at those KPIs as well as website traffic and marketplace usage. I think that hopefully we can get enough data to measure if it was a large enough, to make a justification there. But I think that there's enough information, like Chupa says, that we can try to measure some form of ROI, whether it be activity. It'd be a little bit harder to put a dollar amount on that, but I mean, we know how much we spent on the party, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I also think that we need to still like make sure that we're like engaged and focused in like the NFT industry in general, because a lot of people come from talking to like other like industry experts on whether things are like legit or not. So like when you try something out for the first time, you like ask your friend who understands crypto. And ultimately, like I think that amongst like those groups in the NFT ecosystem, we still have like a lot of, name recognition and respect. Uh, and those are really the people that I want to make sure that like we don't uh, we don't completely just stop reaching out, because like if those people start kind of asking, is Universe dead or is this still a thing? Monster Cat was here last time and now it's just Monster Cat. Like I think that could end up being like we could have like sort of unmeasurable ramifications from that. And JD Buffalo, your question about like runway, it's not that there's like a massive like pivot or shift in really the way that I'm talking about that stuff. It's more I'm watching some of these private raises in the market, and even in like a private, like in a down market, I'm seeing like NFT ecosystem to launch on Cosmos, like to raise like, $30 million. Like that type of stuff makes me wonder how we're going, like we need to raise capital to compete with those types of things long term, or there's just going to be a lot of money competing against I mean, what is like ultimately our entire market cap is other groups raises, and they don't have the same type of like tech or longevity. And I think these same groups are going to realize how hard this stuff is to build. So like that's more where I'm going a little bit back to say like, yeah, I mean, I do think that at some point we're probably going to need to expand, and like that can't necessarily just come out of like me and Troy's pockets. But I think when that time comes, I think that a lot of the people and funds that aren't like active in Discord are still engaged, and we have goodwill with them. And some of those people went to the party last year. But anyway, that's kind of my take on it.
Jay, do you have anything else that you wanted to speak on over here?
No, I feel like I've kind of said my piece on it and made my stance pretty clear over the last couple of weeks. So I appreciate you guys, engaging with me, and hopefully we can take some stuff away from this moving forward and maybe do things not differently, but just like, a little differently.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you for being real, bro. If anybody else wants to come up and speak, then raise your hand. I'll bring you up if you have any questions. Was there anything else in the pre-AMA or?
I didn't see anything. But hold on.
No, I think we're good.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think we're good.
There's one more person typing. Let's see if they have anything to say. But I'm excited, guys. We got about a little shy of an hour, so make sure you guys are in that YouTube premiere link. I'll make sure I drop it in the Discord, and we can all hang out and get hyped together while we wait for the premiere.
Nice. Let's go.
Thanks, gang.
Thank you, everyone. We appreciate it.
Yep. Talk to you guys later. Bye.
Stay safe, guys.